A very good evening to you once again from the sports desk. We're still coming to you live here at the Wanderers Club where the SA20 auction is done and dusted. I'm standing with the CEO of Cricket South Africa, Pholetsi, Moseki, and also Junior Dala, one of the players that has been retained by DSG. But first I'm going to speak to the CEO. Dr. Moseki, second year of the South African SA20. Let's just take a few steps back and look at what happened last season, which was the inaugural season of the SA20. From your perspective, how did that go?
Well, quite surreal. I can't believe that we're already talking about the second edition, especially with the success that really blew our minds from the first season. The way the people took to the product was quite amazing for us, and I'm quite excited to see what's in store for the second season. You know,
there's been a few changes as far as the auction is concerned, in looking at the players, looking at the salary cap, in terms of those other things. I mean, from your perspective, what do those changes mean in just enhancing the product that is SA20?
I think for us the most important thing, as we said, was to ensure that SA20 is the second biggest league after the IPL in the world. So all the changes that we've basically been put in place is to actually ensure that it retains that position, but it actually even gets better. You know, so there's more money for the teams to spend, but there's actually even more money to attract quality players, but also play the players, which is, I guess, the most important thing after all.
Well, from my perspective, as somebody watching from outside, most of the players, like Junior, who's standing next to us here, were retained by their franchises. I mean, did that not somehow take away from the fun of the auction, that players were retained instead of being put up for auction?
No, not really. I think for us it was always important that majority of players obviously had 2-year contracts, you know, so obviously this year it was always going to be a smaller auction compared to last year. And next year obviously will also be quite a bigger one, you know. But I think it is quite important just for stability of the league as well, you know, as part of like its initial stages, that there is that stability in even player personnel, you know. So for us, I think it was still quite exciting, you know, to have like especially the rookies that were bought today, you know. For me, it still speaks to that excitement that we want to create.
I mean, let's talk about that, the rookies themselves, a very important aspect of the game, because they're basically talking about the future players.
Exactly, and remember, one of the importance for us of the SA20 was to actually retain players, but to also provide opportunities for players, you know. So for me, it was quite exciting when the league decided that this year we're basically going to have a rookie system, you know. It is actually builds into what we're hoping to achieve with the SA20. Opportunities for players, but also, like, you know, creating a proper pipeline for cricket in South Africa, you know.
And I'm just thinking about it, that with the rookies, there was like a very few slots available, and you were talking about 80 players. I mean, from your perspective, I guess it's bittersweet in that you know there is the talent that is available, but the slots that were available were just too little.
No, absolutely. But I think for us, it was always important that they do get an opportunity. You are right. We only had 6 slots out of all the available slots. But you recall that there's quite a number of players there in their early 20s who are actually part of the, like, you know, the core squads as well, you know. So, I mean, it's actually this year, the first edition created superstars, you know, so we're hoping that there are some rookies who will take advantage of this opportunity to also really launch their careers as well.
And I guess that is the big thing. You're talking about superstars, the SA20, this form of T20 game, it's about creating superstars who are value for money, as it were, because this is a money game, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, we want players who create excitement. We want those stadiums to remain full. I mean, the first edition, you saw how full the stadiums were. So we want players who go there and basically create that excitement and entertainment for fans. And superstars are obviously part of that, you know, mix, you know, in a way.
Let's touch on that money aspect. I mean, did financially the SA20 last year deliver in terms of what you were looking at and enhancing cricket in South Africa?
Absolutely. And for us, it's not even just the money issue, but you speak about enhancement. I mean, as I said, playing opportunities for players, you know, options for like careers, like, you know, because not all players are going to play for Proteas as an example. But now suddenly they also had an opportunity to play the SA20, you know. But over and above that, it did far better than we thought it would. I mean, for the first edition, you know, I can honestly say that we actually did better than break even, which was not something that we were expecting. Yeah. So we're happy with it, yeah.
Let me bring in Junior quickly. Junior, from a player's perspective, just talk to us about the auction itself and just what you felt. But Individually, you were retained by the Durban Super Giants. What did that mean for you?
No, I think for local players, it just means that obviously we are seen as quality players. IPL and all of those things, and coaches have options to pick from IPL players, and we are retained. So it just shows that the quality of South African cricket is there. So it shows faith in our system. So that's great.
Does it make things easier for you as a player? As I was talking to the CEO, that I would have expected an open-ended auction, that you were retained. Does that make things a little bit easier, that you're guaranteed your place, as it were, instead of being put up for auction again?
I think, it made it a lot easier. If you look at just domestically the quality of cricket that we had already in the start of the season, just guys knowing that they're already in the auction so they don't have to prove a point, helped a lot. I mean, for me personally, I could just focus on cricket, which is a nice thing, and then, I'll deal with the SA20 pressure when January next year comes.
So there was no financial stress?
No, it's not financial stress, but I think apart from the financial stress, it's the playing opportunity that you're missing out on. So, whether I start or not, it's just about when you get there, making an impression on the coaches, and then, your career's in your hands once you get bought.
How strong do you think DST will be in the second season of the Betway SA20?
I think very strong. I think we've got Heinrich Klaassen, who's probably the best batter in the world at the moment. I heard we just signed Nicholas Poran, and Quinton, who's obviously focusing on the T20 format now going forward. So, and he's not captain anymore, so he can focus pretty much on his bang. And then Keshav, the Wounded Warrior, he's got a lot to prove. Not that he has to prove anything. So in terms of depth and experience, I think we'll be great. And last year, to be fair, we peaked at the right time, but probably one game too late. So, yeah.
So how far is DST going in the next one? Are you brave enough to make a prediction?
I think brave enough in the sense that with what we have on paper and the squad and the coaching that's around us and the support that Durban had for us last year, I reckon, let's start the top four because that's an improvement from last year, and then, it would be a tough team to play in a playoff spot.
Fantastic. Let me just get a final word from you, CEO. He's speaking about the support that they were getting in Durban. Just talk to us about, from a supporter's perspective, what can you say to the South African fans as we head to the second season of the SA20?
Well, I was actually personally amazed at the love that was shown to the teams. Whether you went to Durban, you went to Cape Town, you came to Joburg, everywhere you went, basically, the locals basically took the teams into their hearts, And obviously, we're hoping that will continue for the next season, and we are sure that they'll definitely get value for money.
Right. Pholetsi Moseki, the CEO of South African Cricket, and also Junior Dala, who is from DST, the Durban Super Giants. Excitement all the way, and I'm sure as the details of the players that were available unfolds, you realize how much money has been spent in this format of the game. Let's pack it there for now.